Alright guys, Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Just a couple of weeks after OpTic gave Falcons their first online victory this season, they have the opportunity this evening to go one better and do the same thing on land. Pred versus his former team in OpTic, that is the big game of the day. Huke gives his perspective as well on exactly what went wrong against Boston and how they need to turn it around. Some other Pred drama hitting the timeline as well that we've certainly got to dive into with all the storylines coalescing for this evening. Very much enjoy to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Before we get into it, just wanted to quickly say, you guys have probably noticed this on the Breaking Point site over the last couple of days, that there's this feature called Bread. Basically, if you interact with the site, if you put your like a profile picture on, if you react to the match threads, if you comment on them, you'll earn bread. And if you get to 500 bread, you can open packs on the site. This is something that we had meetings, I want to say like 4 years ago, about trying to make happen at some point in the future. And the cards that you get, you can then, they earn you more bread and you can use the multipliers and stuff. So these are the cards that I've opened so far. I got gifted some bread by the team. But and actually because of last night, I do have enough bread to open another pack. So we'll just slam a pack right here because I've got down to 31 ballots. Wow, look at that, the purge cards. Okay, I only got commons on this one, so you can get either team cards or player cards and performance multipliers and stuff like this. Actually, this is not bad. These cards can level up over time as well, and the purge card is certainly relevant. Also, what I really like about this is that you have the serial numbers on them, so if for the season or whenever we, release the new cards and everything, if you're the first card, that becomes, a higher priority. And at some point, it's only in beta right now, so at some point there will be opportunities, hopefully anyway, to like trade the cards with other people, and also additional ways to earn bread at a higher rate so you can get more packs, all that type of stuff. So we've just launched the feature. Have a play around with it. I think you'll have a good time. And, this is a pack that Ronnie opened yesterday, which looks slightly sexier than the one that I just did. But let's talk about some of the drama. We're going to start here yesterday. So Skinny Formal says, shout out aBeZy for chalking the season, 2 games into qualifiers, splintered all the chem, now we're putting the rest of the year, or now we're punting the rest of the year. So sick, at least the HyDra team shoots back. So Ghost of Hope, who knows a few things about the scene, he decides to leak something. Now I do feel like when you're going to leak something like this, either say it with your chest or don't say it at all. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just my perspective, because people are going to read this and be like, okay, what's happened here? Like, what's going on? Who's going to talk about it? Is anyone going to leak anything? I don't know. And I guess he gives us quite a lot of context, but people would have been hoping that, okay, either you say what happens or you don't. So anyway, Ghost of Hope says the following. There's going to be stuff that comes out about Pred eventually that makes him look like an even bigger arsehole than the gambling stuff does if the stories that I've heard are true. He absolutely ruined OpTic's season with his personal problems. And then this guy quote tweeted or commented about Shannon Sharp. I think we'll see that in a second. That was since deleted though. I'm not implying that at all. And then he said this, which is kind of wild. He almost hurt another person in the league who was basically a bystander in the room by getting into it physically with somebody backstage at one of the events last year. Not sure how much else I can say, lol. Now, I think Pred messaged Zuma during the flank last night and said, don't know what this guy's talking about. So look, we'll see if anything more about this actually comes out, because I personally hadn't heard of this one. Like, look, the whole gambling stuff and all of that, there's rumors that fly around behind the scenes. I'd actually not heard of this one specifically. But yeah, it goes on to say he threw something and almost hit said bystander. From what I know, it's all gossip, but I trust who it came from, so I don't think it's BS or anything. And then he goes on to say, I think it happened during one of the MW3 events, but it sure as hell made the decision to drop him when the gambling stuff happened easier. Never said it was a teammate, it was a person on another team in the room, was at a LAN event. So, to be fair, he's given quite a lot of context, but he's not said not said the specific details. I mean, obviously it's pretty juicy, right? Would love to see if this goes anywhere, because you guys remember when the whole Caster 3 drama happened and Kremp was hitting the Reddit, kind of type it up about, well, Bryce and Veli and whoever, Maven or whoever were involved in that confrontation, and Kremp happened to be there and it was all going on behind the scenes, and that was a big talking point for a few days. Don't know if this is a similar thing. I mean, look, who knows what actually happened, what Pred's side of the story is, what the other guy's side of the story is, and where exactly the truth potentially lies in between. It would have all the information, but thought it was at least interesting because Pred's a big topic of the day, because he's left OpTic, and Ghost of Hope seems to believe that this situation was at least something of a contributing factor, that when all the drama happened back in December and they completely got rid of him from all the branding and everything, he was gone for some time, this maybe made that decision easier. But then he was back, of course, So I'm still so confused what's happened this year. But Pred is a big talking point of the day because he plays OpTic tonight. Other teams also play, however. There were some really important games this evening, certainly for championship qualification. Boston, they are now at 180 points minimum, and I think that's going to be enough. I mean, if Boston lose every single series from now to the end of the year, maybe they don't make champs, but in all likelihood, they will make it. So I kind of want to just say congratulations to Boston because it looks like they have pretty much locked that up now. OpTic, though, that is far from clear. They're at 130. Rocket, I think, is still at 100, but a couple of wins will put Rocket right back into the mix. Cloud9, they might be cooked. They play FaZe tonight, but Kenny and Rocket have a run that is doable. Certainly, we'll see the bracket for them here in a second. Real and Beans kept getting into it last night. There was a bit of drama, obviously, about that Toronto versus Heretic series. Beans was not there in attendance, but yeah, Real says you would have got slammed, big boy, calm down. So I'm sure all in good jest, and hopefully Beans is back for a future tournament too. But if Mercules continues to play well today, he may well put himself on the radar for a team like OpTic Texas. You guys were certainly talking about it. I mean, we mentioned it on the pre-show yesterday, even before the series started, that like people are going to be talking about this because Merc is probably going to play pretty good and OpTic are probably not going to do so well. And all of a sudden, people are commenting OpTic Mercules, and I'm not going to lie, every player under the sun has been. OpTic fans have said, oh, maybe OpTic need them in recent times. They need something, right? They might need God at the moment. Like, it's not looking so good. These, just to quickly comment on that again, because we mentioned it yesterday, the map and mode records that OpTic played against Boston, and look, the red card hardpoint is not a great map for Boston, right? They're 2-5 on it, but it's not a good map for OpTic, right? Like, OpTic's record on that map this year is not good. I don't like watching them play it, but they did play it. They got rid of Vault hardpoint, which was confusing because, I mean, even look at this, right? Game 4, even if OpTic hadn't been 3-0'd, which they were, they had a Hassy hardpoint loaded up game 4. I don't know that, like, OpTic do like that map, and they were really good at it in scrims at a time, but it is equally a map that Boston really quite like. They're really pretty good at, and OpTic's record doesn't necessarily imply it. So, you know, you look at the vetoes, it feels like OpTic maybe took a misstep, but frankly, maybe it didn't even matter anyway. And as we said yesterday, right, like, this was OpTic 3, I mean, like, how often do you see someone like this? OpTic get 3-0'd, and we've just got, what, Snoopy, like, a little pat on the back for awakening. We've got Cammy, like, calmly taking his headphones out and all this. Like, you remember how animated these guys were when they beat Thieves last event, and for good reason, right? There was obviously a bit of a rivalry going on there. Cammy was on that roster the last season. They took down Thieves in the first rounds, and they were giving it large to their opponents on the other side of the stage. It does really look like a local LAN, doesn't it, from this angle? But they win this one, and it's just, you know, stand up, take the headsets off, and fist bump, right? Thought it was real nice to see this as well. Purge and, you know, his family outside appreciated the victory, right? And look, they're top 6 guaranteed now, Boston. They have potentially a long way to go ahead of them as well. I think it's a great story for Purge because him and Snoopy have been excellent, I would say, this season, with some exceptions, right? Purge has had the off, you know, the occasional off series, but from where he started, getting clowned week in, week out on Paris, or Vegas, right, to then the present day where he looks like he's setting himself up to be a real crucial factor for this team and potentially other teams in the future, depending how Boston go for the rest of the year. I think it's a really cool story. You know, you guys know I like this team. I've got a soft spot for this team, and I think they're pretty damn good as well, and they've shown that so far. OpTic, however, not so lucky, and let's talk about where they go from here and where they might go this evening. This is a crazy stat, and there are quite a few crazy stats about this OpTic team, but they are currently on pace, OpTic, to win fewer LAN games this year than the Huntsmen did in MW19, and there were barely any LANs that year, right? So they won 6 series in their first 2 home series they were called technically, before the league went fully online. They only have 2 LAN wins this year, OpTic. I mean, they've played 2 LAN events, but they have 2 LAN wins, 2 top 8 finishes, and today it could potentially get even worse. And if they lose tonight, OpTic will have placed top 8 or worse at 3 consecutive events. They only did that once in Ghosts back in the day. And look, we said this on the show a little while ago now, that this OpTic team, ignore the names of the players and the talent that's on the team. This is like the worst OpTic have basically ever looked. And it's a crazy statement to say, but I think it genuinely is true. Even the World War II OpTic team, they were not this bad. Genuinely, they were not this bad. I know people talk about it in hindsight as like, oh, that was the fake dynasty, or like, those guys were terrible. they weren't that bad, like not compared to this. And you got to go back a long way to find an OpTic roster that, I mean, had results anything like what this current OpTic team are doing. It is just honestly crazy and difficult really to contextualize how this is even happening. I guess they won champs and have just dropped down to the depths, and then they will try and slowly rise back up again. Huke was pretty much the only player from OpTic to actually comment on the series yesterday. Don't blame him, to be fair, of course, but he says, tough L, we're still in the tournament, gotta lock in. And that's true, right? I mean, they made it to the winners bracket at least. They got kind of blessed by Boston, right? By taking down Falcons to make it to the winners bracket. But then they got there and Boston sent them straight back down to losers. So Huke says, gotta lock in for today. I always find it funny when people say, oh, we got to lock in. It's like, well, you weren't locked in before, right? Like, what's going on, right? You weren't locked in at the qualifiers, weren't locked in game one. It's, you know, it's not about locking in. It's about actually playing good team COD. And right now that is clearly too much of a challenge. And the crazy thing about the OpTic season is, I mean, I know this is kind of a new meme that the boys put together last night here with Doug and his, you know, his hamburger or whatever back in the day, and then tried the OpTic burger. But OpTic have been so bad for so long now that, like, all the memes, the memes are running dry because there's just not enough still to go. So today is a very important day for loads of different teams. People are going to talk about OpTic Mercury's, of course, especially if what happens this evening goes as many might predict it to. And here are the Falcons boys getting ready for the day. This, I imagine, were their like kind of pre-tournament scrims yesterday. And the Falcons guys have been looking pretty nice lately. I mean, if you even think about it in context that they went recently, Game 5, Round 11 or whatever, with Boston, and they eventually lose. I mean, look, that's a Boston team that just beat OpTic without too much difficulty, right? So this is the bracket. The first thing to say probably is, if Thieves don't win this tournament, there will be serious questions, right? Because the bracket could not have shaped up nicer for them, really. Toronto don't have beans, FaZe are down in losers. Heretics are pretty nice, sure, but I think Thieves will feel confident on Saturday they can handle business there. And then the other side is a Surge team that Surge are real nice, but Thieves tend to beat them, right? They tend to be nice in that game. And I mean, Boston versus Surge, I wouldn't count Boston out of that series. I mean, they played at the most recent major as well, and it was actually a pretty close series that eventually was a 3-1 to Surge. But if Thieves were to win and Boston were to win, I don't think Thieves are going to be too worried there. So Thieves should win this tournament now, and if they don't, people are going to talk about it. People are going to talk about it anyway. On the losers' side, Rocker, huge game for them today. If they lose, their champs run isn't over because OpTic are looking so shaky, but they need to win, and I actually think that they will. I feel like that Ravens team is, don't want to say compromised precisely, but yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm really not convinced by what I've seen from Ravens lately. I know that they've played Thieves twice in a row, but yeah, they've made a change. This is their first, like, proper series, really, apart from playing Thieves. So we'll see, and they've just not had much practice with Rex in the team as of yet. Ultra Gentlemates, it could get interesting. You know, I'm probably going to pick Ultra to win and make something of a run, but, I mean, you've got to think for Rocker, it's so doable, right? If you beat Ravens, you then play either a Rocker with literally no player in beans, and yesterday JoeDeceives and CleanX were just not good for some reason, or you play a Gentlemates team that are just not very good either. So the Rocker run to top 6 at least is got to be on the card. The lower side of the bracket, however, is more stacked. I mean, OpTic play Falcons. Pred is certainly going to be bringing the energy for this series, as should the OpTic guys be as well, of course. I mean, it should be a bagger Friday series. But, like, wow. And it's, look, we predicted it before the tournament. OpTic will lose to Boston, OpTic will lose to Falcons, and that seems to be what everyone thinks is going to happen today. It may not. We know the talent's there on OpTic, but who's played the better COD lately? And Falcons beat them online as well, so there's that. FaZe will likely make something of a run. It's tough for Cloud9, but, I mean, can you see FaZe going out top 12, top 8? It just doesn't really ever happen. I know they came top 6 of last year's champs, but I mean, still, you're expecting FaZe to make the run. And I think that this game, Elimination Round 2 on the lower side, is the final game of the day. So by the end of the day, only one of OpTic, Falcons, FaZe or Cloud9 will still be in the tournament. And, well, prizes for guessing who that's going to be. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.